Hello plant parents, welcome to the brand new episode on Plant-o-Pedia. And today we'll talk about one of those plants in the world which are most exotic and unknown for their elegance. And that's a bonsais. I think a lot of us have this connoisseur for art, all want to have something which is really exotic or elegant in their rooms or in their houses, and bonsais are the ones which make up for that decor. In this whole episode, we will not just talk about its benefits and its use cases, but also it's on the plant care. So you have A to Z on the bonsais and what types of bonsais are available in the Indian market. And if you want to know more about Plant-o-Pedia and its more topics, do subscribe to the channel below and don't forget to hit the bell button. And by the way, we're also on Instagram, so we will talk about various stories and reels and topics on bonsais and many other topics. So don't forget to also follow us on Instagram. Alright, so let's today talk about one of my favorites and the most important plant which I feel we have sort of grown at Nurturing Green is a bonsai. The way they have been miniatured into this form, the craft which it takes to nurture a bonsai, and the elegance they bring into your home is unparalleled and unmatched. And in this episode, we'll talk today on the basics of bonsais. So the first plant here I have, that's a Carbona Bonsai basically. It's an S-shape. This is almost a 5-year-old bonsai, which is given this S-shape over a period of 5 years. And on my right is a ficus grafted, which is actually made out of two different plants. So this is a microcarpa, and here we have integrated ficus, grafted the ficus in it, and that's why it's known as a ficus grafted. This one is approximately 2 to 3 year old plant, and it has taken almost that much time to get nurtured and get this beautiful stem structure. So by the way, this is not a stem actually, it's actually the roots of microcarp, which is very commonly available in some of the Asian countries across and grown massively there or into abundance into it. So bonsais basically by nature are, I'll tell the story on how bonsais came into existence. So bonsais basically came into existence when some of the doctors and people in Japan wanted to shift the medicinal trees from one place to the other. And they realized that these 40-50 feet plant trees, they're not able to shift because of the logistical issues. And that's why they started making miniature varieties of those particular plants. So for example, they started making neem bonsai and other basic medicinal plants. And that's where the trend of bonsai started coming in. So when we talk about bonsais, we think of Japan, and when we think of bonsais, we think of this craft and patience which it actually brings in. So for example, on my left, as I talked about, there are different levels of bonsais, right from 1 or 2 year old bonsais to maybe 100 to 200 year old bonsais also. And bonsais are basically the miniature forms where you have given the shapes to the plant and have very carefully and patiently crafted this over a period of time. It takes a lot of patience to build or grow this baby across, because this doesn't grow in a month or 4 months or 5 months. It will continuously take more time to grow. And a lot of us who are old plant parents must have few bonsais which they have sort of nurtured it for the years, and it's their prized possession. So I have a bonsai which I have is almost like a 9.5 years. When I started Nurturing Green, it came in and it's still surviving, and I've been, it's a prized possession of our home and something which we talk about every now and then on it. So anybody who sort of starts taking care of it becomes so close to it. And in terms of the bonsais, basically, that's the origin which we talked about. Let's also talk about its elegance and around. I think for gifting, I think it's one of the best options which people use for, because of its elegance and this artistic nature. And it's also been used for keeping it into your prized collection of your plants. A lot of people I know of have a bonsai collections basically, which are ranging from 2 to 3 plants to 100 plus plants also. And that's what it is, once you start living with it and you see the beauty of nature around and how sort of it changes forms, you will start loving this plant. From the care perspective, I think there are different bonsais, but most of them sort of react on a similar levels. Bonsais are mostly trees basically, so they have hardy plants around, and their care is not that tough. But of course, to keep that shape alive and to make sure that they keep growing in that same format, we need to learn the art of pruning and giving that shape to the plant. From the care perspective, let's talk about the care. So in the care, from the watering perspective, it's a semi-outdoor plant, so you have to water it twice a week. Ideally, if it's a summertime. In winters, obviously you reduce the watering. You can see it from the spoon test. Again, the moisture should be retained in the plants at all times. For example, in this plant, there is enough moisture because if I put my hand into it, there is a lot of enough moisture which I can feel in this. So depending on again which region you are in, you have to put the watering into it. But ideally, most of the bonsais go towards a higher watering than just like a normal tree requires a good level of watering. They also like to get good level of watering. So whenever you are watering it, make sure that you water it and the water seeps down from the below so that the roots gets enough watering. But of course, make sure that you don't overwater it or water it so frequent that the clotting start happening and the roots start dying it. So let the plant dry out a bit and then again start the watering process. So that's for the watering. One of the most important things which I have seen for plants to bonsais to die is because of the placement. Now most of the bonsais, and especially the Carbona or ficus bonsais, are a semi-outdoor or an outdoor plant. But a lot of us keep it into a low light areas, and that's why we see the shedding of leaves. So if you keep it indoors, you will see a lot of leaves are shedding in, which is an indicator from the plant that I'm not doing good. You need to do something about it. And that's why areas like these, the porch where you get a very bright light, or your backyards or your verandas, are good areas to keep your plant. They can tolerate light as well as temperature, so they're not like indoor plants. They are like outdoor and semi-outdoor plants. So which means the lux of anything above 1500 is something they like. Even if it goes to 4 to 5,000 also, it's okay. I mean, along with it, obviously the temperature also goes up, but they are sort of sustained and grow well into bright light, direct lights also. So in case of Carbonas, they like heat and they like hotter temperatures. During the cold, just have to save them from the frost, so don't keep it directly open. So, and that's why that's a semi-outdoor. So areas like these where there are porch and you don't have a direct exposure to the sun or to the sky, in the winters it's a good option to have. So placement, always make sure that you're putting it in a semi-outdoor area. If you don't have a semi-outdoor area, maybe an outdoor area. And along with it, make sure that you keep a check on the seasons. Winter, when it's frost time, they don't like the frost. The ficus bonsais also don't like the frost. Carbonas also don't like the frost. And even other bonsais like Ardenian bonsais, and there are many other bonsais, they mostly don't like the frost. But again, depending on some of the plants, they might be okay with the frost. So that's in terms of the placement. In terms of food, and the media becomes a very, very, very important element, because a lot of people don't care about it. But if you realize that this one bonsai, which is a 5-year-old plant, requires a lot of food to grow. So it needs a lot of energy from the soil to keep its strength retained. And if you don't give the food, you will see the plant not doing good, or the new leaves doesn't come in. So whenever you are buying a bonsai, always make sure that the media is good enough. It should be a hard media, so you need to mix some sort of soil into it also to keep the firmness alive. So in terms of the media, you need to make sure that you also mix soil into it a bit, because you need to keep firmness to the plant. Otherwise, it will fall. Just with coco peat, again, it doesn't do good. So you have to have a mix of coco peat as well as soil mixed with Basacode or a slow releasers. It will definitely need a plant food, otherwise this will not sustain or grow with it. So just make sure that whenever you are putting media, always use a mix of coco peat as well as soil, so that there is firmness into the roots. If you look at this plant, this is very firm, so it doesn't move, but if it had been only in coco peat, it would have tilted or not would have grown good enough. So that's one thing from the soil perspective, which is to be taken care of. Food, as I said, you can't live or survive a bonsai if you're not putting good food into it. So you might see the good growth coming in when you buy it from a garden center, but eventually you will see it depleting down, because उसमें खाना अगर नहीं होगा तो it will not grow. So you will have to make sure that every 6 months or 8 months you do the feeding if you're doing a slow releasers. If you're not putting a slow releasers, you have to put a spray of nitrogen and NPK का 1:1 ratio में, so that at least the leaves and the roots get a good food into it. So that's from the food. There's one more important aspect in terms of the care which a lot of people miss, is the pruning part of it. I specifically have a plant which is sort of growing a bit above it, and this requires pruning. Now, why pruning is important is also because a lot of times when you don't prune, a bonsai loses its shape. It goes wild, and that is something you have to maintain. So if this bonsai, if you look at, this was actually to be made like a ball shape. So you need to make sure that you prune everything from this side. Right? Pruning is also good enough for bonsais because it brings more energy to the new leaves. So you get more bushiness and more attractive bonsais when you prune the plants. Sometimes a plant like these, which is a bonsai like this, again a pruning is required because you need to give shapes to the plant. So any excessive branches which are moving out, you need to prune it from time to time. And this is an art which everybody sort of looks at it. So if you look at this plant, that's an S-shaped bonsai which has taken 5 years to groom and has been growing towards in different direction, right? Now if this plant grows to a bit beyond it, you will have to cut it, right, to give the shape retained around it. So always make sure that pruning is a very important aspect, and keep the pruning done usually post winters or post summers in different parts of the country. For example, September, October is a good time to prune your bonsais. You will see a lot of new leaves also coming in. So I think that's what makes a bonsai most important to have, and the care all about it. So in case you think you want to know more about bonsais, we're just a message away. Just put your comments below, and me or my team will love to interact with you guys and engage with you and help you to keep your bonsais growing and thriving more. We can help you with any other ideas which you have, or any questions you have on bonsais. Feel free to ask on our Instagram page or on our Facebook group, or even our YouTube channel below, and we'll be happy to help you on it. Thank you so much for watching My Plant My Baby. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.